Hi there, I'm Dr. Christian Mostert from Kick-Ass Dissertations, and in this video series we're going to look at the very important topic of how do you develop your research proposal. Now this will be the first research that you will commence with after you've registered your research topic. So this series is going to be aimed at MBA students, master students and doctoral students. So let's look at what it will entail. So this video series is going to be a step-by-step guide for you on how to cover all the aspects that you have to cover for the submission of your research proposal. Now, I want to start off briefly by looking at what is a research proposal, and then secondly, the purpose of it. Good. So firstly, a research proposal is in its simplest form a concise or coherent summary of your proposed research. So it's a document that you're going to submit to the university to inform them about your intended research. A more elaborate answer perhaps is that your research proposal is a document submitted to the university about your proposed study's background and problem statement, the literature that will inform it, and how you intend solving the problem through formal research and analysis. And already there you have all the key components of what a research proposal entails. Now the purpose of a research proposal is twofold. Now the important thing that you have to realize is that you have to convince the academic board of the university about two things. The first is that you have to convince them about the academic merit of your research project. So you must remember that there are certain standards to be met, especially on the different degrees, for instance, a master's level versus a doctoral level. And therefore, you need to convince them about the academic merit of your project. But secondly, you also need to convince them about your personal competence to be able to complete your intended research project. You must remember that over 50% of all students never complete their dissertations and subsequently never graduate. Therefore, you want to show the academic committee that you know what you are talking about and that you can see this research project through. Then I also just want to highlight for you that your research proposal will become your roadmap for completing your dissertation quickly and with quality. I've seen it so many times. Students that develop strong research proposals almost always finish their dissertations quickly and with quality. And this is the way to go. The better you do your research proposal, the easier it is with your dissertation writing. So remember that. Then lastly, after you've submitted your research proposal, there's normally some time before you get feedback on it. And I want to encourage students to move forward with your research into your dissertation, but you have to be careful that you are not allowed to start with your data collection process unless you receive specific approval from either your administrator or the ethics committee of the university. So you can, for instance, move forward on your literature study and many things, but you may not do your data collection unless you have received approval of it. And this will typically only come after the submission of your research proposal. Good, so let's look at the detail of what a research proposal entails. So I want to start off this discussion by telling you that most universities have a specific format or template, if you want to, in which they want their research proposal submissions. So you have to download this from your university and you have to strictly adhere to their requirements for this. But at the same time, all these different formats follow the same principle. And we've developed this series for you that you have all the detailed components of that and that you can simply fit it in or slot it in the way that your university requires it. So let's look at the main sections that you will find in a typical research proposal. So this is the general guidance for research proposal structures. The first is the preliminary section. This will be the title page and it will include your approved topic. This will be followed by the abstract or summary of your proposal, and I want to highlight that only some universities use this. And then thirdly, you have to provide the table of contents. So your pages must be numbered and all the different sections referenced in the table of contents. The next session will be your background and discussion, and there are a number of very important sections in here. The first is the introduction to your study, the background to the problem statement, the purpose or aim of the study, the research objectives, research questions, and the literature overview. Now again, you will find that universities will sometimes cluster some of these points. Just look out for them and make sure that you understand exactly what your university is going to require. Then also some universities will require of you to provide an initial or early research design and methodology discussion. So they want to think for you to think about how you're going to structure the actual research that you're going to do. And this will be covered very specifically in the section in this series about research design and methodology. Then the next section will be research management. So these are normally quite smaller aspects of your dissertation proposal, but again important because it will cover areas such as the scope of the study, the significance of the study, chapter planning and suggested timelines, and then lastly conclusions. And again, you will find that different universities will have different approaches to this. And then lastly, your resources that you've used for your research proposal and supplementary sections, and typically it will consist of the list of references and also perhaps appendices, although it's generally not encouraged to use appendices, but you can if you have to. Good, so these are the sections that we will cover. And you're going to see that we will have 14 of these discussion points for you. And they're all going to be individual little videos of 3 to 5 minutes that will help you and guide you through the discussions and the type of research that you have to submit for each of these 14 sections. In this 14-part series, we're going to use short 3 to 5 minute video recordings to briefly discuss each of the main sections that we've discussed in the previous slide with you, and this will then constitute what a research proposal on a master's or PhD level is. So the 14 sections are in sequence, as you will most likely will have to include them into your research proposal. But remember that sometimes your university will require you to combine them, but you can simply look up the details of each one of them here. You may want to take a picture of the screen because the numbers of these topics will be also the number of the different video recordings. But we're also going to provide you with free bonus recordings that will deal with the abstract or summary that is sometimes required by some universities. How do you put your research proposal together, which is the important section? And then lastly, how do you prepare for a research proposal defense session, especially when you are doing a PhD, but sometimes also on research master's level, you have to face the academic committee with your research proposal. And this section will discuss on how do you prepare for a defense session. It's really a very important section, I think. Each of these sections will constitute a different video, and you can just look at the number of the item that you're looking for and find the corresponding video recording.